Hello, hello, hello. I'm gonna tell y'all how this crazy thing went down because I'm driving to work, so I got time. I'm just gonna sit here and talk while I drive. Anywho, so y'all know back in like January, maybe December last year, something like that. My husband and I were talking about having another baby. We just didn't know when we wanted to have another baby. And so we jokingly made a video of me asking him how many likes or how many followers I needed to have in order to have a baby. And he said 100,000. And then over time, he changed it to 100,000 likes because he saw that having 100,000 followers is not something that just happens overnight. So, funny though that now this announcement comes at 100,000 followers. I'm at 99.8 the last I checked, so I just thought that was kind of interesting. Anyways, we got 200,000 hearts, and we were trying this past spring to have a baby, and we didn't get pregnant. And then what happened was my husband's kidneys failed. I guess they didn't fail, but he has nephrotic syndrome and he relapsed and he had to take 6 weeks off of work. And while he healed up, because he was so swollen his feet wouldn't even fit into his boots. And I had a mental breakdown on TikTok, and a lot of people banded together to help support us, and there were some people who paid our rent for us, there were people who paid our electric bill for us, and there were people who sent us food and sent us money for food, and so much love was poured out on us. It was amazing, and we got through it. I had to work 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, in order to almost make ends meet, and then that lot bit we got from some of my followers was kind of helped bridge that gap, so we were able to get through that. However, that was really scary because we realized we can't have another baby, because what happens during another relapse? And he has to take time for I can't work 15 hours a day while I'm pregnant, or work 15 hours a day with a newborn. Like, that's not plausible. And I'm not willing to be. I know it works for some people. I know some people do it. I'm not knocking on you for doing it. But from what I've learned about early childhood development and what I've learned in my cognitive sciences studies, is that it's really not that great for kids to be away from their primary caregiver for lengthy periods of time when they're little. That's actually what caused my PTSD, was me being separated from my mother for a while when I was an infant. And that's also what caused my son's PTSD, was being separated from me when he was an infant. So it's just not something I'm willing to do, to have a baby and then go to work and leave the baby home or with somebody else who would be taking care of it while I'm at work. Like, I'm not comfortable with that. So it's like, we can't have another baby. There were some other things that contributed to that decision that I'm not going to get into right now. But yeah, it was like, we can't have another baby. So we had to cope with that and grieve that loss, which those of you who have struggled with infertility know what I'm talking about as far as that loss. There's an idea that's lost there that we had to grieve and cope with. And then in September, it was the end of September, I was feeling funny. I had some issues going on, and I found out that I took a pregnancy test, and it was positive, and we're like, what? I went to the doctor. Well, the test slowly started becoming negative, but I still had all the symptoms. So I went to the doctor because I've been having regular periods, and I had just got off a period when I had this positive test, so I wasn't real sure. I was like, how could I be pregnant? Like, what? So I went to the doctor and was like, this is weird. What's going on with me? So they took some blood tests. They all said I was not pregnant. But the urine tests said I was pregnant. So they did an ultrasound. They were looking at some stuff to see what could possibly be going on, and they didn't see anything And it was just this very confusing time trying to figure out what the heck was going on. It got to a point where I could feel something moving inside me like a baby. Not gas. There's a difference. I could tell the difference, and it wasn't gas. It felt like a baby moving around. And then after a while, I started another period, but I passed a deceased fetus. I had this period, and I clearly had another miscarriage, and so don't know why the ultrasound missed it. Maybe because they weren't looking for that specifically. I don't know, but it became apparent that that's what I was feeling was the corpse moving around. So that sucked, and that brought on like this whole new wave of grief. Of like, I was just starting to process that I'm not going to have any more kids, and then this happened, and I was a little concerned, but also kind of excited. And now, like, I have to reprocess, no, I'm not having any more kids. And I talked to my doctor and was like, I want to have hysterectomy because my periods are awful. I've wound up in the ER before because of blood loss. I can't do anything but sit on the couch on a towel because I bleed so much. And we've tried all kinds of methods to control it. Like, we've tried doing an ablation. We've tried different forms of birth control. We've tried steroids because I have a platelet problem, and nothing has. What's over there? I heard sirens. I had to make sure I didn't need to pull over. But nothing helped. Nothing worked. Nothing fixed it. And I ended up actually needing to stop birth control because it turned me into a freaking crazy person. I'm already a crazy person when I learned during like PMS time, but this was bad. I mean, it was bad. So, yeah, I told my doctor I'm gonna have a hysterectomy because I'm not having any more kids, and this is awful. So I want it taken out. And they were like, okay, let's do it. They said we're gonna have to do. I have a history. For those who don't know, I have a history of cervical cancer. I had some cancer cells cut off of my cervix shortly after I had my first daughter. And my pap smears since then have been fine, so they haven't had to do anything more than that. But there is that history there. And my mom had ovarian cancer. So reproductive cancer, kind of a thing in my family. So you have to do a biopsy before we do a hysterectomy, because there's two methods of having hysterectomy. One is where they go in through the vagina. I just said vagina. They go in through the vagina and they kind of like, they have this tool that cuts stuff up and then they pull it out. And they don't have to actually make like an incision in you. At least as far as I understand, that's how it goes. I have not thoroughly researched this. But the problem with that is if there's any kind of cancerous tissue, when they do that shredding, it flings it inside the abdominal cavity, and then you've got cancer that's just spread all throughout. And that's no bueno, obviously. So they do a biopsy beforehand just to make sure there's nothing funky going on, and then they know that they can do that. And if there is something funky going on, then obviously you're gonna have to remove it anyways. But then they do more like a C-section style, where they make an incision and remove the organs. So I was supposed to go in for this biopsy to see how they're going to do my procedure. Whew. And my period was supposed to start a week before, or like a week and a half before my biopsy, which was perfect timing because then, I wouldn't be like actively bleeding as they're trying to do all this, right? Well, so my period didn't start. And I was like, what? Now, my periods aren't super regular. They can vary by like 2 to 4 days. They can be off by like 2 to 4 days. They're not like on the dot. So I was like, whatever. Then I started having a few symptoms, and I was like, now I'm really concerned. So I took a test and I got a very, very faint little positive line and was like, oh, no, 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 oh, no, 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 what? And mind you, since I've not been using birth control because of the issues I've had with it, I've been tracking my cycles so I can avoid doing anything super fun when I'm ovulating. However, this past cycle I did not get any definitive signs of ovulation, and I thought I just didn't ovulate because I have PCOS, and that does happen some months. I just don't ovulate. So I was like, what is this? Huh? I took several tests over the next several days and was like, oh, lovely. And it was, I went into my appointment on Monday for my biopsy, and they confirmed it. So, yeah, I'm not screwed up. But so the really cute story, if you are on my TikTok that I promised I would post, the really cute story about my son is he heard me and my husband talking about my surgery and what that would entail and like what the recovery looked like and this, that, and the other. And he's like, what? Why are you having surgery done? And I said, oh, they're just gonna take my lady parts out. And he goes, why are they gonna take your lady parts out? And I said, well, you know how mommy gets really sick when she's on her period? And he's like, yeah. And he's such a sweetie about it. Like, he knows when all I have to say is like, okay, I'm on my period today, and he'll be like, okay. And he will handle so much stuff. He'll be like, I'll make lunch. You just sit there, I'll make lunch. Can I get you anything? And then he'll try to like parent his little sisters. Like, it's so cute. He's so supportive because he knows how hard it is when like that's how bad it is. There's an 8-year-old boy that is just like gung-ho ready to do everything because he knows I get sick. And like I said, I've had to go to the ER before. So he wants me to rest and not risk me going to the ER again. So I told him, you know, that way I don't have periods anymore. We won't have to go through that anymore. And he like got like panicked. Now my son has anxiety, and I could just see it coming over his face. And he goes, but then you can't have any more babies. And I was like, he loves babies so much. He loves babies so much. And so I was like, yeah, sweetie, we're not gonna have any more babies. And he starts crying and he says, why? And I told him, well, I mean, think about how sick daddy was a few months ago. Like, what happens if daddy gets sick and we have a little tiny baby at home and I have to go leave for work 15 hours a day? I mean, didn't you miss me when I was at work? And he said, yeah. And I said, and you're a big boy. Can you imagine how much a little tiny baby would miss me if I had to work that much? And he's like, yeah. And I said, so it wouldn't be fair to the baby to have a baby and have daddy get sick again and have me have to be gone. And we don't know if and when daddy will get sick again. So we can't have another baby. It wouldn't be fair to the baby. And he just had this total breakdown. He just started sobbing. He had his hands covered and he just sobbed for so long. And I just sat there and held him and told him, you know, that, you know, I know it hurts. He could just let it out, all that. But he was so distraught over the fact that we weren't going to have another baby. And he kept saying, you know, I just want another baby brother or another baby sister. And I was like, I know, honey. And it was so hard for me too. Like, I was so heartbroken to see him like that. He was just so broken up about it. So that's part of the reason why his reaction on TikTok is so freaking cute. Oh, actually, I put it on YouTube too. Why his reaction was just so precious, because he was really broken up about it. So when he got to see the test and saw that it was positive, it just lit him up. And he hasn't stopped talking about it since. It's been 24 hours and he has not stopped talking about it. So I have some mixed feelings about it, because, you know, I had kind of finally wrapped my head around it and been like, okay, we're not having any more. I'm going to go have my parts taken out. But you know what? I'm going to be working on the ambulance, and I'm going to have a great time doing something that I really love. and I'm gonna keep progressing in school. And you know, I'll be in med school within the next 3 years, and that's gonna be awesome. So, you know what? It sucks that I don't have another baby, but like I feel like my life is finally starting to begin, you know? So I'm kind of like upset about the fact that now all that has to be put on hold again for a couple years. I mean, I can do some online school, but for the most part, that all has to be put on hold for a couple years. So that's kind of a bummer. But at the same time, like, I have a baby to cuddle with and love on, and babies are precious, and I love babies, and I'm good at babies. I feel like I'm much better at parenting babies and toddlers than I am school-age children, because my school-age children, I'm always just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with you. Babies and toddlers, I got those down. Actually, I think I'm getting better at school age, but still, it's been a learning experience. So yeah, that's the story. That's how we found out. That's how it happened. That's how I feel about it. So yeah, good times. Good times.